what's one of his jokes? Well, doesn't really do jokes, sort of moves around a bit, we fill in the blanks. More of a workshop, actually. I woke up this morning and I thought to myself, I'm probably not going to think of a horse today. That's what I said. Yeah, so that's my focus bell. Okay, keep it focused, that's my focus bell. White guys, am I right?
He's been called the king of postmodern nonsense. That was today's guest performing in London. Hello to the Canadian comedian Tony Law. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, you're in Paris as part of the tour for your latest show, Tony Law Identifies.
Yes.
Your previous shows include Dog of Time, Tony Law Go Mr. Tony Go, Tony Law Maximum Nonsense, and A Law Undo His Elf.
What welcome.
Absurdity for Common People. Now, most comedians, they come on stage, they introduce themselves, they tell stories about their lives, they tell a joke or two, the audience laugh, and the comedian leaves. Everyone understands what's going on. It's kind of a deal that we have when we go to see a comedy.
Yeah.
This is not what you do. Was there a moment when you decided that that model was not for you?
Yeah, I suppose. I went to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in 2000, I think it was. And I saw these acts. I saw a guy called Simon Munnery. I saw the Mighty Boosh. Anyway, I just saw a couple of shows that were absolutely mad. And I had never even, I'm very poorly educated, and I had never even heard of Nietzsche, but I found out about Nietzsche through Simon Munnery and philosophy. And so I just realized you could do whatever you want in comedy. It didn't have to be the same. And also I get bored of the standard format of set up three things, punchline. And also, when I tried to do observational comedy, I realized I wasn't very good at it. Because I couldn't be interested in the things I observed. So I decided to make more stuff up. And I also find it uncomfortable to reveal too much about myself. So what I do is, if I'm going to reveal a true story about me, I sandwich it in between two made-up bits.
So people hardly even notice.
Yeah, so you slip in some truth bombs. But yeah, so this show I talk about my time as I wanted to talk about 1840s Russia, so I just talk about my time as an 1840s steamboat captain in Russia. And I managed to bring in the history of circus and the emancipation of the serfs. It all weaves in a stand-up routine.
I've read your aim is to design a show where afterwards people have no idea how to explain it.
Yes.
How to describe it to anyone else. Can you describe a little bit Identifies to us?
So this one was, the joke about this one is I wanted to call the show Identifies with a Z, so that when it goes into the Edinburgh, the thing where you register, and it goes out in all the publicity, that it was vague enough for people to go, like as you showed before, some of my shows are like nonsense overdrive, maximum nonsense. Because you want it as vague as possible, because by time you have to enter into it, you don't really know what the show's going to be about, so you keep it vague. And this one was Identifies with a Z, but they put it into all the guidebooks and everything as they spell-checked as Identifies.
So they corrected it.
Yeah, so it looked like a show that I was going to talk about identity. So it's basically a show about how I'm not talking about identity and how I could care less about how anyone wants to identify. and accidentally, there's a few things about my identity in it.
Okay.
Because I've got a complicated background. Well, like everyone does, don't they?
Well, let's take a look at a clip from the show, which makes absolutely zero sense, but just to give you a taster, Identities.
Heads up, guys. You ever find yourself in a card game with a gibbon? He's got one of them propeller hats on. Run. That's a sign from nature. He's going to be cheating. But Tony, what if that propeller's moving? He's been drinking. Run for your lives. They are strong animals. Not as strong as a chimpanzee. Holy shit, one of the lads, he had a chimpanzee put him on security.
How does this show...
Oh, yeah, so that was during the 1840s steamboat captain, and a Russian friend of mine, Dmitri, decided to bring the very first circus to Russia in 1840. However, he didn't realize there was only 900 people with access to money at that time because of the serfdom. And so he had only one season of circus. They had to let the circus animals go. And so that begins a story of how I found a gibbon and a chimpanzee, and then there's a violent scene. Oh, but there's loads of layers. I also like to think that after people have seen the show, it all falls into place. Because I think there's something more going on. Or I intend
Tell
to,
us what it is.
I
What
intend
is
to
the
have
more
it.
going
Well,
on?
I just think that there's a nice sort of story, and I think there's bits of politics in there. It's just not obvious. It's more like a painting, I guess.
Well,
you need to interpret it. And I get the nicest tweets I get are often 3 weeks after I've been on, once it's sunk in. So I try and be funny in the moment, but then have people going, oh, yeah, I like how that felt like that might have been about that.
Well, you are actually a Canadian living in the UK.
Yes.
It's a very interesting time. Does Brexit come into the show?
Yes, I finished with a Brexit bit because the people I live amongst are all anti-Brexit, but yet I go around and I do, and all the comedians, probably 99.9%, do negative takes on Brexit. And I wondered what it would be like to see if it was possible to put a positive take on Brexit, and also to, as a way of saying that the people who voted Brexit are not necessarily the people that they're describing. So I think I balance it quite well. I think at the end of it, you think, oh yeah, I think all people are all right. We just make different decisions. All of that coming from me.
In the UK, actually, do you get to vote in the elections coming up?
Yes, yeah,
You
because
do?
I've been there for 30 years and stuff, and whatnot.
Okay.
But I have no idea which way I'll go. If I could vote, I'd vote for an American, Tulsi Gabbard, but she's not running in ours. Yeah, she's my favorite.
Okay, well, I won't ask you any more. About
Can't believe I've just name dropped.
It's complicated. Well, the organiser of your gig here in Paris is called Carol Beer. He's the man responsible, actually, for bringing a lot of English-speaking comedy to the city. This is what he had to say about your work.
He's doing something that other people aren't doing. You've got observational comedy, you've got political comedy, and you've just got absolutely nonsensical surrealist comedy that goes into places of the imagination that infects people, but they go away and they say, that was really funny, it didn't make any sense whatsoever, it was brilliant.
Yeah, it's hard to get people to laugh at some of the subject matters I choose. I've given myself a mountain to climb. It's tough pushing that rock up the hill sometimes.
Well, in interviews, actually, you've talked a lot about your personal struggles.
Oh, yes.
With mental health, with alcohol. You're sitting up very straight and looking very serious all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was when I stopped all that, my recovery period, I was a bit self-indulgent and whiny. You know, I think it's part of the process, isn't it?
Well, it was in your last show, a lost show, wasn't it?
A little bit, yeah. I tried to be as light about it as possible and as detached as I could.
Is it
but
still
say
impacting your comedy, do you think?
No, I think I've put that one away. I think so. I don't mention anything about recovery or any of that anymore. I don't think. I think I've done enough of that.
Your shows are very surreal. I wondered where this surrealist worldview comes from.
I think it's just maybe I was just when I've discovered Monty Python, that stuck with me. I discovered them quite late in life, when I was about 15. And you're whatever you like between the ages of 15 and 20. Maybe even from 14 or 13 to 20. Those are really, once that stuff gets in. So I think Monty Python and the old Steve Martin with the arrow through his head, that just got into my head and that stuck in my psyche about that's what funny is. And also I was given I've got an obsessive nature, which can hold you back, of course. But I was under the impression that your job in comedy was to try and be as different from everyone else as possible. And I can't get that out of my head. So if you do a thing and you think, no, someone else could have done that, or that sounds like that, you change it.
So you're still trying to be, this is like your 16th show, I think, as different to everyone as possible.
Well, because I've tried to do things where I thought, I need to get on TV, or get back on TV, or get more success. And so I've tried to change it to be more mainstream, I guess. and it's never worked. I've just come out of it really bad and feeling bad. So I've just tried to double down now and just go for it, be as bonkers as I can. Yeah, so I think it's definitely, and also growing up on a farm, you spend a lot of time alone and a lot of time with animals. And then you combine that with an education of Monty Python and Steve Martin and stuff like that, then I guess that's the barrel it gets brewed in.
Okay. Well, Tony Law, we always end the show with our guests' cultural pick of the moment. What have you chosen for us?
Well, the British Museum, if you're over in London, has got well, I go there 3 times a month anyway. In fact, I go there more often. Sometimes I do my writing in the cafe by the totem pole at the British Museum. And people say that must be distracting, but it's just stimulating as hell to write your routines there. Hey, hang on, that's where a lot of the stuff's coming from. It's only dawned on me now. Yeah, go to the British Museum, to the Islamic art, how it's influenced European art.
Okay.
And I haven't even been to that yet.
But you're recommending it.
And the people that go in and out of it look like they're having a good time.
Okay. Tony Law, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. We're going to leave you now with the exhibition Inspired by the East, How the Islamic World Influenced Western Art at the British Museum, which is on until the end of January. Tony Law is playing this week at the Sinaloa in Paris. He'll then tour in the UK with dates in London and Falmouth and several other cities in the new year. Check out his details on his website. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
Thank you very much.